Where your mama go? Where mama go? All right, we are live. So I think I texted you my list of questions and I forgot them already. So I'm gonna do them off the cuff and eventually I'll remember something.
All good.
How'd you find jiu-jitsu?
I found jiu-jitsu through UWM. I first started off doing their rec classes with yoga, and yoga quickly became like my first love and sparked the passion of learning how to move creatively in your body. And so that led me to want to try all the different rec classes. So then I did Tai Chi and Taekwondo. And I did Taekwondo with one of my roommates. And he was ready to try something different. And my brother and him both wanted to do jiu-jitsu. So we started that class together.
Cool. Do either of them still train?
So when we walked in, I fell in love instantly as soon as we walked into the door. Although, again, I had no idea. In Taekwondo, you stand in your own personal space and like punch air, right? There's not much body contact going on. But so the wrestling was eye-opening. My brother and his friend, so it was at Henry's at Matamoros, and they would, halfway through the class, run out into the street and just like throw up all over Kinnikinnick. And they then decided that it was interfering with their drinking that they would be doing afterwards, and they didn't like all that, so they quit pretty fast.
It's interfering with my drinking. I can't party hard enough when I do all this training. Yeah. This is awful. This is awful. That's awesome.
It worked out because I lived with my brother and his friends in a flat on the east side, and we'd have Fight Club. We started Fight Club after bars kind of before jiu-jitsu, only like when I knew Taekwondo, and it was not going well for me with Taekwondo, using my Taekwondo skills. Like I do like a roundhouse and they just catch my leg and throw me down, and that was like really disempowering when I felt like I was like doing so much hard work to become a badass. And then once jiu-jitsu came, then they were starting to make all these different rules, things like I could and couldn't do. And
you put too many people in arm bars.
Yeah, that was the moment, like when I realized like jiu-jitsu is the ultimate self-defense. When I finally had tools that could get me to win our fight clubs. So
interesting. Tell me more about that. Like, what was the first rule you remember them imposing? Hold on 1 second. My dog's being an asshole, and I'm not supposed to have him. Kind of. Good. Yeah, did Kyra make a mess? Why are you downstairs? Where's your mother? Come on. Chris, are you going to come get this baby? I don't know how I ended up with him. He was upstairs in the bath last night.
Yeah.
Now he's fully dressed and on a different floor. Okay, so they're imposing rules on you. What were you doing that they had to impose rules?
I don't even remember back in the day then, but it was pretty much like no jiu-jitsu, right? Like there's like, I had to like stick to Taekwondo, and
That's not fair at all.
No.
Was this after the movie Fight Club?
After the movie.
Okay. I have no idea when did you start jiu-jitsu?
So in 2004. So I was addicted to the movie Fight Club when it came out, and I watched it all the time. And that was I graduated high school in 2002. And I remember trying to be like sleep depriving myself throughout high school to recreate the movie and stuff. But yeah, so I was 21 and a half, kind of like when I started jiu-jitsu.
Okay. Got you. 20. So you've been doing jiu-jitsu for 21 years now. That's a long time.
18 years now.
18? Oh, yeah, so 2004, not 2002. You said you graduated in 2002.
Yeah.
Math is hard.
Yeah.
That's why you do jiu-jitsu. Got you. Did you have a whole bunch of people coming to these fight clubs? Please take that from him.
No, it was mostly just, I mean, we lived with like a big crew of probably like 4 or 5 guys back then.
Okay.
We always had like the couch that people would come over and sleep on for long periods of time without paying rent and whatever. But
so you said that this was what made you Fight Club was what made you realize that jiu-jitsu was like the ultimate self-defense.
That was my first, yeah.
What was that breakthrough? Like, what do you remember what triggered that breakthrough?
Well, I just know that in Taekwondo, when I was trying to do any of those other moves, it occurred to me I wasn't going to be roundhouse kicking my way out of an alley, if I was attacked. But I've got no problem jumping on top of someone, right, or taking them down and choking them out, and was much more realistic for somebody who's 5 foot, 120 pounds.
Got you. Interesting. That kind of flies in the face of what I think a lot of people think about. A lot of people think, well, I'm small, I can't grab him, I'm not going to be strong enough. I gotta like hit him. I'm gonna hit him one time in the balls and I'm gonna run as fast as I can. You're like, no, I'm going deeper into the fire. Let me jump on him.
100%. Yeah, 100%.
Got you.
Yeah, I'm not a fast runner, so I don't want to run. I want to take the fight to the ground.
Okay. What's your favorite takedown?
Takedowns are not my favorite thing to do in general. If I was realistically gonna, I like what I call like the chair sit. Getting into a nice T position and then tripping them from behind, taking them down, following them down behind.
Trips are really, really nice. Especially against the average person. The average person has no balance. Yeah.
Like that's what I would do if the person like knew technique or something like that. But if I was going to catch them off surprise, like then I'd just drive through with a double leg. But
have you worked with a lot of people who are like super brand new? Well, I guess you teach the beginner class at PV right now.
Yeah. Yep. Mm-hmm.
I go to a wrestling club, and we recently got a whole squad of 8th graders. Yeah. And some of them it looks like they've never walked before, and a light breeze causes them to fall down.
Oh, yeah. It's hard with beginners and with kids, especially trying to teach them that. I always have to say, like, you're not just going to pancake yourself out. If you get knocked over in a fight, you have to be ready to be strong, like, land on all fours or whatever. But trying to teach kids how to fall, all that kind of stuff is.
What's the first thing you teach kids?
The first thing that I teach them is mount to high mount transition.
Interesting. Why?
So, well, mount is going to be the first, just an easy position.
Okay.
And then teaching that transition, it helps like to build the vocabulary with them right away. So I say, this is mount. I'm sitting on their stomach. My knees are on the ground. Number one mistake, right, is knees up. And so then I demonstrate this is what it looks like with your knees up, but now it looks like I'm sitting on a toilet. You never sit on a toilet in jiu-jitsu. It's always knees down. So
interesting.
That way they're not like squatting on top of a kid.
Yeah.
So you get that misconception out of the way. And then I say I've got my ice cream scoopers, and I use my ice cream scoopers to scoop up the elbows and, crawl your way up to high mount. So that's like their first thing of learning just how to move from one position to another with, the easiest of steps.
I like that. I like that a lot. I never thought about that.
Yeah.
My son's 2, and he likes to play martial arts in general. He does a little bit more striking than he does grappling, except when he yells takedown and then collides with his sister.
Nice.
Or runs up behind her and grabs her by the throat and yells, "Birdie, take sissy back!" Like that's but he does the toilet thing. He
right.
Lots when he mounts people. I'm like, that's not it.
Yeah.
And then he wants to bounce on top of you. Like it's just not gonna work.
Yeah, that's classic.
It's not gonna work at all. What made you fall in love with yoga?
I wasn't when I was 18, I got tied up into this like unhealthy relationship with an older guy, and yoga was something that helped bring serenity to me and like safety and control over like my body, my space, my environment, all that kind of stuff. So it really helped connect with myself. And it became, a practice, right? Like all sorts of healthy practices in your life that you can practice meditation and martial arts. And so it was nice to have all of a sudden a practice to go to, something to escape to and whatever, and go within and connect with myself, which all then building on that like power within, taking it into jiu-jitsu was just like my first day of jiu-jitsu, because I was always trying to like leave that relationship since I was 21, from 18 to 21. And that first day of jiu-jitsu, I knew that the relationship was going to be over. Like anytime that I was, that he would call again or whatever, I would just go to the gym, and all those big ass dudes, right, running around with their shirts off and stuff. I was like, I can go here. Never think about that guy ever again. And I knew to have like a squad. It was an instant family, right?
Yeah.
For jiu-jitsu. So
very
yoga is something you can do on your own, and jiu-jitsu, you just do it. I mean, or, you can go to a class and do it with the community, of course, but jiu-jitsu, you always have to, practice with the community. And to me, they're the two exact things. I don't see them as like different practices. So to me, jiu-jitsu is just like competitive yoga. It's yoga with another person. I'm trying to do my yoga flow and not let them do their yoga flow.
Interesting. That's a very cool way of putting it.
Yeah, that's how I learned. Like that was like the lens that I learned through, was viewing it through like a yoga lens, and how to effectively move from one position to another, controlling your breath.
I have experience with yoga, but I don't have enough experience with yoga to use yoga as a lens.
Transfer it, or yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I don't see anything through the concepts of yoga. I can see things through the concept. Do you think yoga is a martial art?
It in the way that jiu-jitsu is life.
Okay.
I would kind of like say that same thing, because I need to do yoga like before I compete. Now it's before I do like any jiu-jitsu at my age, right? But I need to do it just to get myself in that warrior mindset, right? I'm going to do yoga to get within, start moving my body, and it prepares you for everything that the universe is about to bring to you.
A friend of mine has a shirt that says Jiu-Jitsu is the art of doing yoga. No, it's the art of folding clothing while people are still in them. It's very, very similar
Involuntary
to
yoga. Yeah.
Involuntary yoga. That's another good one.
Yeah.
That's another really, really good one. Who was at the gym when you started training? Like who was like your old guard? The people who started with you is, I guess, more of the question.
No doubt Omar, who I know you talked to on here. Omar was key for me. He was a partner that really helped me practice technique when you feel ridiculous, right? Doing it in your beginning months and weeks, whatever. But he made me feel successful, but without like him just babying me, like giving me the stuff. He made me always feel like I was earning it, and helped me really like access all that technique and apply it. So totally him. Aoife Maloney. She was a purple belt back then.
She was a purple belt already?
Yeah. She was a purple belt. And I looked at her, we were like in the line together for Pass the Guard, and said, "How long have you been training?" And she goes, 4 years. And and she goes, and I go, oh my gosh, I can't imagine doing anything that long.
Yeah.
There's like, whoa, that's intense. But yeah, I think she must have just gotten her purple.
That's crazy.
Right at that time.
There was only
Tom Mueller.
Yeah. Okay.
Red. John Freeland. B.O.B.
I know the name. I've never met him. He lives in Vegas or something now, right?
Yeah, he was in Vegas. Now he's in Thailand.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah.
Weirdly enough, we were in the same town in Thailand for a period.
Oh, okay.
He's
a character.
Yeah, I don't know. I still haven't met the guy, but he keeps coming up.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's a woman, Barb.
Is she still training?
She is not. I don't think she is, but what was she? Maybe she was like Russian. I hate to categorize her, but she was one of the biggest people in the gym, like shredded. And so she taught me how to escape knee on stomach, because she would just, step towards me, leaning that knee down. And that's all she'd have to do. And you'd be like shrimping away, trying to escape that knee on stomach all the time. Yeah, she was awesome.
Yeah. Got you. How long were you at Henry's? Until he moved?
I left before then. A little bit before then.
Okay.
Maybe like 6 years. Hard to say.
Got you.
Yeah, because I think it took me like 2 years to get my blue belt, and then I started helping to run the gym after that.
Wow.
And then I spent probably 3 years. Yeah, definitely 3 years working as a blue belt. So probably 5 to 6 years.
So you've been teaching forever, basically.
I've been teaching since I was a blue belt. So yeah, for 16 years I've been coaching.
Wow, that's a long time. That's a very, very long time. Did Henry ever have a kids program?
He had the kids program in Nemo. David was running that. He now has, he just got his black belt from Henry. He runs 44 Fitness and martial arts. But he was their kids coach.
Okay. I don't think I know.
No, he's got a cool story and stuff. But he used to be this pretty skinny kid doing jiu-jitsu, and then he went into personal training and nutrition and transformed his body into this badass looking guy. So he's doing good things. Yeah. And when I left Henry's, after that 5 or 6 years, I was feeling old and fat. Running the gym, I realized bad call, right? Because then you're hardly training. It really just kind of.
Oh, you were really, really running the gym, not just running a class?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I helped start all the belt training cards and stuff that I know Pura Vida then inherited. I know when I went there in their beginning years, I'm oh my God, I designed those cards to track attendance and all this kind of stuff.
Wow.
So I was running all the business end of it, which took me off the mats, and it was kind of a depressing time. But left Henry's then, and Nemo was the one that would call me up and say hey girl, we need to get you back to where you used to be, badass blue belt. And he'd call me up, wake me up in the mornings, have me come to his boot camp. And he had this gym. He wanted to start a jiu-jitsu club and practice there. So he would train me and get me into shape, and I'd help build his jiu-jitsu program. And he transformed me then. I'll always be grateful. Because otherwise I definitely was in a spot where I thought I had to retire. That I was too old and fat to train anymore.
Too old and fat to train.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, 15 years
my age
later.
of like 32 or something like that. I don't know. Yeah.
Do you think that experience helping run Henry's gym is why you don't have a school now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That is not, yeah, no, I don't want to deal with that.
Okay.
With that part. I love coaching.
Yeah.
And happy to go in. And I mean, already, you know, I'm a teacher, teach third grade, which was my other, like I knew I was going to be a teacher from the day I was born.
Really?
Yeah, like I knew that was going to be my calling. My grandfather was a teacher, so I was like,
okay.
I just knew that that's always what I was going to do. And so that was my dream job. And coaching jiu-jitsu is then like my other dream job that I've got both. It's can be hard to balance, you know, the two. But after coaching, it's awesome just to be able to roll. I might have to go home to grade papers and stuff, but it's nice not having to go home and do, you know, just the business expenses, all the things that have go into running a gym. But otherwise, I love like counseling and you know, running events, all the other things, as long as it doesn't have to do with financial parts and.
Yeah, that's the part that I'm dreading as well. We're probably going to open up within like a year, maybe two. Two would be a while once we get back, and that's not a part that I'm interested in. Like that's just. I would much rather have 55 people training for free than have to ask somebody, "Have you paid this month?"
Yes. Yep. That is the exhausting part.
Is teaching still your dream job?
I'm always kind of asking myself that right now. I don't see myself like leaving, but since lockdown was difficult, that really took all the joy, right? Everything that you get out of teaching, interacting with kids,
Yeah.
right? Seeing the learning happen, all that kind of stuff, creating a community. That took that away. When you're just teaching on Zoom and virtually and all that kind of stuff.
Okay.
And now it's just been, you know, then we had a year of teaching hybrid. So I was like on Zoom and I had kids in the room, very stressful. Learning how to do your job like year one all over again. So
did you have to do both of those things at the same time?
Yeah. So teaching 100% virtual was like your first year of doing a job. Then teaching hybrid, the next year was like a whole nother year of like doing everything from scratch and trying to figure out how to do everything again. Now we're finally in a normal year, you know, in person, and that feels good. But a lot of things have changed in the teaching practice, and there's lots of new things that are on our plates. All new curriculums that can now instantly be virtual and everything. So everything that I once felt like an expert on, it's kind of like taken away, and it's been a lot of years of not feeling like an expert or just working really hard, exhaustingly, you know, to be the kind of teacher that you want to be, that kids deserve, and all that kind of stuff. It's draining, but rewarding.
Was it during lockdown that you weren't sure if this was still your dream job, or has it been since normality?
I've just been waiting. Like I've always kind of waited for it to feel like the good old days. And I kind of thought that this would be that year. But there's been so much more on our plates that it still doesn't feel like that year. And now I can just accept that it'll never feel that way. Or maybe things will get easier again, but not that teaching was ever easy.
You started teaching right out of college?
Yeah.
So how much longer do you have before you could theoretically retire?
I probably could retire when I'm like maybe 55.
I don't know how it works.
I'm 38. Yeah,
okay.
So still got a ways.
Got you. I didn't know if teaching was like a.
I don't want to do anything else. Yeah, I don't want to do anything else besides teaching. Like if I did, if I did leave teaching, I would do coaching, right? I would just coach all day long and all stuff like that. But then I'd be losing retirement packages, like all the benefits. Teaching and coaching, my two dream jobs really complement each other well for everything that I need to feel financially safe and
there was
a single person, household type thing.
I ran into a school in Houston that in between their noon class and their night class, they ran a jiu-jitsu for homeschool kids program.
Interesting.
I don't know what you're going to do with that information, but it feels like you're the kind of person that needs that information.
Yeah.
It's something that I'm definitely interested in. I'm thinking more and more about homeschooling my own kids because I plan to have my kids at the gym. I'll literally just have the time to do it. But then you got to socialize them somehow.
Yeah, yeah.
And it seems like that would be a fairly good option to just run a program like that. I don't know.
Yeah.
Or maybe you got to run instead of having your summers off, run a summer jiu-jitsu program. I know you've run a whole lot of summer yoga, but
I'm doing right now a lot of retreats for the summer. But otherwise, I like to spend my summers camping.
Okay.
So I thought about doing back in the day, like at Henry's and other gyms that I've been at, summer camps for kids. But yeah, I like my summers. I don't want to invest. I would maybe, oversee it and manage it. But I don't want to have to be there every day.
I got you.
I'd rather be in the forest.
Rather be in the forest. Do you go far away to camp?
I mostly camp all around Wisconsin.
Okay.
I love the state parks here. So
are you like a tiny little tent person? You sleep under the stars, or do you have a big ass RV?
I am a small tent person that has a tent full of jiu-jitsu mats and.
Really?
Yeah, I'm always ready to.
In the forest, you're amazing.
I have been camping before, and I saw more than a decade ago this guy wearing a Naga shirt, and I'm like, oh my god, like. You wanna roll? And he's like, no, I'm here with my family camping and we're gonna go hiking. And he thought I was a weirdo. But from that day forth, I was like, oh my God, I almost like missed an opportunity if we didn't have mats. So I keep mats with me at all times.
That's amazing.
Yeah. And I've had some good open mats at my campsite. So
that's incredible.
Yeah.
I used to drive everywhere with a gi in my car, like 24/7. I had a gi with me. That's next level. Bringing your your own mats everywhere is next level.
Yeah.
Are they puzzle mats?
Yeah, they're the puzzle ones. They're really nice ones, though.
Really nice puzzle mats.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they're extra thick.
Chris is all excited. She's in the corner like, ooh.
Man,
I think you just
leveled up my camping game for sure. Like, because now I can just take those out, right? I can. It's awesome. They're great for camping, and although that wasn't my intention, but
you can use them on the beach, wherever you go.
I keep on the bottom of my tent now, and now, like, if it rains, the water will just automatically go underneath there and keep all my gear dry. So now I won't go camping without them, even if I didn't do jiu-jitsu, but.
Sold. We're rolling with mats now.
Yeah,
I got puzzle mats in the garage. We got to bring them everywhere we go from now on, wife. She's nodding her head. She may be nodding it this way, but she's nodding her head. Very cool. So, what is it now? 16 years on the mat? 18 years on the mat?
18 on the mat, 16 coaching.
Why are you still on the mat?
Why do I love jiu-jitsu with all my heart? I'll say I'm still on the mat because I do yoga. If I did not do yoga, there is no way that my body would be able to keep up with my love of jiu-jitsu. So physically, I'm still there, and I'll owe it to yoga. I like to at least do an hour or two of hot yoga before going to an open mat and going against, these young 20-year-old beasts and stuff like that.
Yeah, because you'll roll with just about anybody. You're not.
Oh yeah,
Not
no,
nearly as picky as most people once they're black belts in pushing 40. Like
yeah,
you're still strangling anybody and everybody 2 at a time. Let's do it.
yeah. I'm all about it, but I know everybody has, you know, something to prove and all that kind of stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I need to make sure that I'm so warmed up and that I've got all that yoga in my system before I can let these guys try to throw me around and whatnot. But
Gotcha.
but otherwise, I love the community.
Okay.
I love the workout. I love the learning process.
Tell me something cool you learned recently.
Few different things. I had like one of my best learning weeks this last week. So I was teaching a class, and we're doing the takedowns. So now my foundations class is not just for beginners; it's foundations for mixed levels.
Good. Very good.
And I taught that chair sit takedown that I was talking about. And one of the blue belts at Pura Vida was, I do mine head in. He took his head out and swapped his legs and hit it. And I was like, oh man, I love that. I like that variation. And because I was like running class and I didn't take the time to practice it, but then I went to Primal. I like to train there too. Went to Primal and was able to hit it like on the spot. I'm like, all right, that was awesome. I need to keep that in my game. Being a shorter person, that T position is one of the easier takedowns for me, right? Because I appreciate judo, but usually these guys are so tall, like I struggle getting a solid underhook, you know, and being able to break their posture down or even doing like a double, right? And when they're twice your size is tiresome. It's not worth my energy more than anything. But that T position and switching up those takedowns. So that was a cool variation. And right now I'm working on polishing up like my honey hole entries.
Oh snap! She's a leg locker now.
I'm trying. I've got a competition coming up, and I need to stay on top of this stuff. Yeah.
When are you competing?
Next weekend.
Next weekend? Where?
At the Midwest Finishers, 10th Planet, in Illinois.
Okay, very cool.
It's the 135 championship.
Is this a tournament or a super match or?
So I thought it was going to be like a 6-woman tournament. They keep posting the competitors, and it looks like it could be maybe a division of 12 women now, which is like mind blowing.
Why you cannot have this? This is glass. Go. Can you take him to bed, or at least someplace where he can't come be loud? His bedtime was 40 minutes ago. I don't know what he's doing, but he just brought me a glass jar and decided to bang it on the table. Like,
nice.
Where did this toddler get glass from in the first place? We keep glass out of his reach. We don't even know what this is. Anyways, your tournament of 12 people. Do you know any of the names?
I don't know.
Okay.
No, but I just saw then like shortly after they posted in June they're having the 125, and I was like, oh man. And I took the 135 as like an amazing opportunity for me to compete against. It's submission only, so that's what's like attractive to me. I wish it was gi.
You're hard to submit.
I'm good at defending.
You're super good defense. You have really, really, really good defense.
If it's a point system, that's like not my game because normally I'm the smaller person and I'm going to get smashed, and I don't mind that if it's, you know, when it's submission only, I can be on the bottom, let someone smash me and try anything for forever and then wait for that perfect opportunity to find the submission. So yeah,
you should sign up for the 120 as well.
I would, and I'll consider it. I've got a jiu-jitsu retreat that I'm running that weekend, and maybe I could change the date.
Yep.
But I feel like I'm still adjusting to, in my world of Wisconsin jiu-jitsu, I started jiu-jitsu right at the beginning of the boom, right? Like before it hit, when there wasn't any black belts in Wisconsin yet and all that kind of stuff. And there was only like the one gym, right? Or two in Milwaukee. And then, the boom happened about 3 to 4, 5 years later after I started, where now there's like a gym, right? When everybody else got their black belts, and now you've got choices and things like that. I would say like this year, I was teaching a women's seminar at Primal, and I've taught lots of women's seminars over, the decade and things like that. And I've had some great turnout, but I never plan what I'm going to teach because you never know who's showing up. And a lot of times it'd be like a mass group of women on their first day, like on how these things like were organized and stuff like that. This last one that I just did had tons of women and all various abilities. High belts were there. It was blowing my mind to see so many purple and blue and white, like all together with this like huge passion for jiu-jitsu, excited to learn. And I'm like, okay, like it's happened. Women stepped up to the plate. This is now their sport. And like, I think the women's boom is kind of happening right now. The UFC is like another example of that, right? Now there's not just only Ronda Rousey, now there's women in all the weight divisions and competition out there. Like this boom occurred. I don't know what got us on all that, but
what do you think is causing the boom for women?
I've been reflecting on it. I think there's been a change. I would like to think that there's been a change in our culture. It's hard to say if that's it or if I'm just getting older and looking at things differently or whatever. But 16 years ago, when I was teaching, started a women's program, there was like, sessions. So like the first session happened. And then at the end of it, I felt like either everybody got knocked up or their husband's work schedule changed. Maybe something with school, but I felt like, and it was very disheartening, right? Because then they leave and then you have new women, and it was just hard to grow a community, right? It was just this like rotating cycle of women.
Yep.
And so I was like, I'm done with this. I really was not like much for women's jiu-jitsu. Not like I wasn't anti, but that's when I started focusing on coaching kids. Like I was going to make it accessible to them. Other women were like, pioneers for bringing women in and stuff like that. But I was kind of discouraged from my experiences. And now I feel like women take their passions as a priority, and they're just not always going to sacrifice that. Like always for their family, like that they prioritize themselves better.
So you're seeing a cultural change outside of jiu-jitsu?
That's that's one thing that I think could be,
okay,
good that I see. And now and again, when you see yourself, right, people like you succeeding, like before I made a choice to never get knocked up because I saw what it was happening to women and taking them out of the sport. And I decided I wanted my black belt more, and that I had to make a choice.
Okay.
Now, women don't have to make a choice, right? Like I see women who are pregnant and they're rolling and they're training and they're getting their black belts. And so like I didn't see anybody who was successful, any
Gotcha.
women who were successful and had children. But now that's happening. And, I think highly of myself for having a black belt. But when I see that a woman who like also has children and has a black belt, it's like, whoa, I give you all the credit because
It takes
I
a
don't know how
lot
you
of
do it.
time.
Yeah.
Yeah, my wife rolled
We're just
until
trained,
she
not a
was
black belt, but
was 7. My wife was 7 months pregnant when she stopped rolling.
yeah.
I think she was 8 months pregnant the first time and 7 months the second time. And just, Casey Blazo rolled all
Yes.
through her pregnancy. I don't remember
Yeah.
when she stopped, but like she was still traveling with me to neutral ground from Waukesha to Milwaukee to roll once or twice a week. And she
Yeah.
just only played mount game. She only played mount, only played top control,
Yep.
didn't do anything on her back. And as soon as I told my wife that, she's like, "Oh, I can keep doing you." Hell yeah, I'm gonna keep rolling. Why would I stop rolling for pregnancy? Like,
Yeah.
be more
Yeah.
selective.
I'd roll with women throughout their pregnancies, but then like rare, back in the day, you wouldn't see them come back.
Yeah.
Now you see them coming back after it and like
Um,
them, continuing all that stuff. And Casey now has her black belt.
Good for
Um,
her.
as far as I know, yeah, rumor has it.
I
Um,
haven't seen anything
I think
about
she's
that.
the fifth. Yeah, I think she's the fifth one in Wisconsin that got it, but I like kind of don't
Perfect.
quote me on that. But
That was my
um,
next question. Did you know any other than the 4? Because I got you, Sonia, Aoife, and Alex in
yes.
wherever. So Casey,
So and now Casey, I think, is the fifth one.
she was a brown belt last time I saw her. That was almost 10 years ago.
And I think, yeah, I've had my black belt for 4 years now, and I think she
Okay.
got hers like maybe a year after mine, maybe 2. I'm not
Okay.
positive, but
Got you. Good for her.
I really don't know the other 2 black belts. Um, besides, just Aoife, obviously, and I was there. Like, yeah, it was a big part of Aoife and I have been. I like to call her my jujitsu spouse. We still train together
Okay.
all the time. So,
Have you done anything with Rebel Girls?
I just friended them. I just accepted a friend request. So
Okay.
right before I got on here.
Okay.
No, not yet. I have, let's see, what is the other? Oh, Girls and Geese.
Okay.
Working with them right now.
Got you.
I know I've done one. I don't remember which one I have done. But I've taught one of those like female seminars before.
Do you make the changes in the way you teach when it's a women's only class?
Not, I talk differently when I'm talking with just women. I might talk more about self-defense in that case and bring that in more when it's more applicable for them. And also so I don't like to say that I do. People used to say like, oh, will you teach a women's jiu-jitsu class? That was, something back then, is still now. But I realized what I don't like about teaching women's jiu-jitsu. I like the fact that women can maybe be together and learn together, but I don't really believe in women's jiu-jitsu as like a different practice. Because I would teach something that like really works well for me. And then I had like Jessica Sunier, who is an accomplished brown belt and runs a awesome gym. She's a bigger, strong, tough girl, and I'm trying to do these like little ass moves, and she's like, that's not me, right? And so then
Yeah.
I realized I don't do like women's jujitsu. I do small person jujitsu, who specializes like in a David versus Goliath match. So when I am teaching women, that I'll at least like portray that a lot of the time, as far as small person jujitsu goes. I like to do moves that work the best on the biggest people.
Interesting. Do you grab the biggest partner to demonstrate them on?
I often have to do that, even like when I'm teaching, adult, just mixed, my regular adult classes, because I'm used to having like that strong anchor.
Got you.
One of the ways that I see jiu-jitsu is that like when you have big dudes like Jake and Zach, are at Pura Vida, they're both bigger guys, and I was talking to Jake, and they can talk more about staying on top, right, and just like having this control and controlling the other person. For me, I see my opponent as a jungle gym, so they're not somebody that I'm manipulating and moving where I want them to go. They're a jungle gym that I can move myself around.
Interesting. I like that terminology. Do you play Kimura trap very much?
Yeah.
That's how I describe the Kimura trap. I've never used the terminology, they become a jungle gym.
Right.
But I call the Kimura like having a roadmap around their body.
Yeah.
Like you're going to stay here and I'm going to navigate around you. That's
yeah. When you got that Kimura trap from bottom, right, kind of like in that north-south position, or however you're kind of swinging around, and you can kind of like hit the sweep from the bottom. And yes, like leverage is there for all different sizes and stuff, but I prefer like if it's getting that on like the biggest dude who's not just going to like fall over when you kind of try to hit that that sweep, and instead I loop myself around up onto their back.
Yep.
And let them just kind of anchor me down while I move myself around using that trap.
I've always tried to find the person that is the closest to my body size and body type within an effort. My mindset has typically been based in competition. So sure. I like to portray things that are going to work on someone that is within my weight class. Right.
Yeah.
And then I saw like Red likes to use people that are smaller than him. And it seems to be so that he can keep them in one position and chat with you for a minute without it being difficult. Like he'll pause in the middle of the technique, sip some tea, and talk to you over there without this guy moving. So it's interesting to see that you take the exact opposite approach.
Well, when I was competing back in the day, there wasn't, first of all of my teammates, there's nobody smaller than me.
Yeah.
So it's simple as that. I'm going against Red. And so every move that I wanted to work on, like it better work against Red type of a thing, which was like nothing. Right. But yeah, all of these guys, Tom Mueller, I mean, just everybody, no matter, Tom Mueller's not like a gigantic dude, but to me, he is, right?
Didn't he used to be?
Gigantic?
Wasn't he like some yoked judoka, like militant, giant, like 220 pounds and jacked?
I mean, I like maybe even if he's like 180, like.
I guess, the difference there for you isn't that much.
Yeah, it's all just,
I just hear stories about the old Tom and the new Tom, and I never met the old Tom.
Oh, I don't see much difference between those Toms.
Okay.
He's still got the personality is what overshadows everything. So.
Got you. Okay.
But so all my teammates were bigger than me, and so if I wanted anything to work, it had to work on them. And in competition, they didn't have weight classes for women back then. It was the women's division. And even when they started like putting in weight divisions, I got really excited because like, all the guys are cutting weight and stuff. And I'm like, I want in on that. So
I want to weight.
I cut down, I think like to the featherweight division, I think it was 105, which is hard. Like took some work for me back then. I can't ever imagine doing that now. But so I was like 105. No one shows up at that weight. No one shows up at the next one or the next one, or the next one. And I cut that weight and I ended up fighting. It was all just, yep, okay. They put in the weight classes, but there's still no women, right? And you just fought who was there.
Got you. Got you. Interesting. So My wife says you call yourself a Milwaukee Jiu-Jitsu historian.
Oh, yes. I
Drop some
do.
knowledge. Tell me some history. I've never even thought about being a jiu-jitsu historian. I do enough research that's like an interesting title.
I love knowing that, like, back in the day, there were no black belts in Wisconsin, and Jeff Curran was the first, I believe the first, in Illinois. Maybe there might have been one other one, right?
I don't know. Carlson Gracie Jr. has been living there for a while. So are you calling him homegrown?
Well, okay, so
no.
Okay, right. Won't not Carlson Gracie then. Yeah, okay. We could say homegrown. Homegrown would be like maybe like a better term. So, but Jeff Curran had to go to Utah back in his teenage, years to meet up with Pedro Sauer and learn jiu-jitsu and help bring it back to the Midwest. And, we had Henry learning and also bringing in Pedro Sauer. So that's how we got Pedro Sauer to Wisconsin, right? Bringing him in and that connection. But before that, Pedro grew up in Brazil as the neighbors of the Gracies. He was the neighbor boy, and they invited him over to do jiu-jitsu, and he ended up becoming the first non-Gracie family member to become a black belt.
One of 8.
And, he was with the Gracies when they decided to then come to the States and start the UFC and go to New York, and was there for the first one, helping to get things run. I think when Mayor was trying to shut it down and all this kind of stuff. And get settled in the States. But I just, I like all that history of knowing how exactly, it started in Brazil, went to Pedro. Pedro brought it to the States. We got him in the United States, or in Wisconsin. And then once Henry gets his belt, obviously that's the start of our boom in Milwaukee, with the other Red and everyone else getting their black belt, starting up their different gyms. At least then Reese Shaner was, our Pedro person, bringing him, keeping that connection going, keeping that whole connection alive and whatnot. And then after his sudden passing, and losing that connection, all promotion stopped in Wisconsin for years. And nobody could get a black belt anymore. We didn't have any more seminars. And that's when I was just getting my brown and knowing that we didn't have, I couldn't get my black, right? Unless I did something about it. So that's when I started going to Brazil, to Pedro's camps, and building that connection. Yeah, building that connection again. Okay. And so after 3 years, after 3 or 4 years of doing that, and I knew I was getting now, right, I'm going through my brown belt, getting closer to black and whatnot. I knew that Aoife, I couldn't get a black belt from him until Aoife got her black belt. Aoife's not one to care about her belts. She's just in it for lifelong learning. But it definitely would not have felt right. So helped facilitate Aoife and Pedro getting together and getting her tested. We went to Greg Nelson's gym.
Okay.
Pedro had a seminar there. That was an awesome experience. And then I finally was able to bring him to Wisconsin for the first time in many, many years.
5 or 6 years, yeah.
For my testing.
Okay.
But
Do you know who? Do you know Dr. Randall Nordorf?
Nope.
He's actually the first black belt in Wisconsin. He got his black belt in like 2000, 2001.
Okay.
But he wasn't in Wisconsin when he got his black belt.
Oh, okay.
He's from Wisconsin.
Oh.
Did some like early martial arts training in Wisconsin, but he got his black belt when he was in Chicago.
And lived in Chicago?
And then he's a chiropractor. And when he moved back to Wisconsin, he was living in Whitewater.
Okay.
So he didn't have access to training. So he didn't train from like 2003 to 2008 or something like that when I met him.
Sure.
And then like he was in a bar one day, or I'm making up this story, but it was something along the lines of he was in a bar one day and somebody got into a bar fight and did jiu-jitsu, and then told him that there was a club at the school, and he started teaching at the club.
Oh.
And then through the club, he got connected back. So he's, if you go and you look at like when Bacon got his black belt and Dr. Luis got his black belt, Dr. Randall's in that line.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And when Pedro went and put stripes on Red and John and I forget who else, he asked Dr. Randall how long you've been training and how long you've been a black belt. And at that point, he had been a black belt for like 11 years or some crazy number. And he's like, it's been a while, but just it's one stripe on. But yeah.
Under Pedro or not under Pedro?
No. Yeah, it's something weird. I forget who he got it from. It wasn't names that I recognized, but I didn't really ask, and it's been 10 years since I've seen him. But yeah, there was a black belt in the state that just wasn't training, and just nobody knew about him, and he didn't know about us. Just weirdly enough, cool. What else do you think? Any else people need to know about you?
I mean, people always like hearing about my viral match.
Your viral? Oh yeah, I forgot you were on Tosh.0. I forgot about that. I was there. That was at for one of those tiny little tournaments that Bacon put on.
Yeah,
and you choked on punches. What did you choke him out with?
Oh, rear naked choke.
Okay.
Yeah.
But it was
he was like climbing up the fence, up the cage. But so it was like kind of like a half midair, you know.
How was that? Was that fun, or was that just like on
Tosh?
Yeah.
Oh, it was very exciting. I didn't know who he was, like when they called. To
What did they say when they called you?
First, they called Red. Because his logo is up on like the video that was going viral. Okay. And so Red gave them my contact information. He said, like, oh my God, Courtnie, these guys from Tosh.0 called. They, talked to the producer. He wants you on. And I'm like, I don't know who this is. And I was with my little sister. And she knew, right? She knew who he was. And she's like, oh my God, this is awesome. You've got to do it. You've got to do it. I looked him up and started watching these shows, right? Okay, it's definitely an adult show. And during that time in Wisconsin, our politics were really kind of scary with our governor and shutting down the teacher unions and all this kind of stuff. It was like a scary time to be a teacher. And so when I was asked to go on, I had to go and have a meeting with like my principal and superintendent, so they'd all like know what was going down, and my superintendent was all about it, so it was great. But also as a teacher, I was very scared about how they were going to take this video in all the easily inappropriate avenues that you could take it. So I was very scared as far as that goes. And I told them my situation, that kids, not that I don't want kids watching, but if kids watch me, like I need to still look like a teacher. And they were very, very respectful about that. But they did say, like, the producer was like, yep, bring your mouth guard, bring everything you need for a fight. This is going to be a real fight for a rematch. And I was like, all right. A little nervous because at least with the tournament, the division was 140 and under. And I'm like, well, now, I mean, already I was only, 120. I was lucky, right? Like my size is my, it's like they can underestimate me once, right? But like now he doesn't even have to have a weight class. It doesn't even matter. And as we were like, a car picks us up from the hotel that we're staying at, is driving us to this unknown filming area. We're like kind of not talking because you're.
Oh, it's you and the kid in the same car?
Yeah. Right? Like you're trying to be intimidating, all that kind of stuff.
Okay.
And then all of a sudden the road like opens up that we're going to like the official like tap out center in LA.
Oh, very
and
cool.
he's like, oh my God, he was so excited. And as we start like walking through, Bruce Buffer walks into the room, and the kid like just hugs me and he's like, you choking me out was the best thing that has ever happened to me. And that really warmed my heart.
Okay.
Because Lord knows the YouTube comments were really, degrading for the both of us, but I can handle it. I felt bad that he was, a teen. But
he was a teenager still?
He was 17.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got you. I didn't know who the kid was. He was just some kid.
Yeah. No, his mom was with us the whole time because he was a minor.
Oh, wow. Okay.
But then when like the rematch happened, like before we are going to go into the cage, Daniel Tasha goes like, just so you know, this is like how it's going to go down. And he lets us know that there's a skit, right? Like that it's planned out who's winning. And I should have like foreseen that, knowing that all of the redemptions are skits. And so we're both kind of shocked and angry just from feeling misled. And then we both look at each other and we're like, okay, this all like does make sense though. We should have probably realized that there was going to be some sort of skit about it. Let's just make jiu-jitsu look awesome and go with the flow. So
okay,
that was that experience.
Got you. I don't think I saw the episode. Did you guys do a bunch of cartwheel passes and craziness?
We tried to do our best to do like that kind of stuff. Yeah. I mean, yeah.
Have you ever seen like what's the word? Like not an exhibition, like a display. Like there's an EX word for display, right?
Oh, okay. Sure.
But
like they have those like for taekwondo when you're like at the grocery market or something, right? And you're outside. Yeah. Yep. Yeah.
I saw one of those for jiu-jitsu, right? And it was like cartwheel passes and flying omoplatas and stuff like that. It was the craziest video. Some of the techniques were good though.
Yeah.
Some of them were real, but a lot of them were
fancy.
Yeah. So I was just seeing if you try to do a bunch of that stuff. That's really cool.
Yeah, that was kind of like our plan. Would I do Daniel again?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was very hospitable.
Okay.
Yeah, he was hysterical genius. Everything we filmed for like an 8-hour day for this like 15-minute, segment of the show. And like there's a moment at the end when like he raises the other kid's arm up, and then the cops come and arrest him for beating up a girl. And as Daniel and I are walking out of the cage, he like puts his arm around me, and I think like in the video he says something like take it from me, you should never hit a woman like unless she gets lippy, and he's like, that was funny, let's do it again. And then like same thing would happen, and he'd be like, you should never hit a woman unless she gets fat. And he would say like something different every time, and you could tell it's just all off the cuff.
This is what he's been working on.
Each one was hysterical.
Okay.
And that he does just like make the stuff up on the spot. Like he has got like a vision and an outline, but his creativity is, you know, what he weaves in between. And he is very talented with his humor, but you just wouldn't want to work for him.
I'm glad to hear that they treated you right. Like there's a lot of in those, he portrays himself as a shitbag.
Sure.
Like,
yeah.
Often I just don't tell people that I teach martial arts. I don't tell them I fight because I just don't want to have that kind of like, oh my God, that's so cool. I can't believe you. And it's none of those things to me.
Sure.
Right. This is just who I've always been. Right. Like this isn't an exciting thing. So I could see a lot of like, well, do you think you could have done it to this guy? What about if you like, oh
yeah.
That could have very easily been a gross experience. I'm glad that worked out well.
Yeah. Lots of my experiences are pretty gross when talking.
These are very gross.
So,
very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. Damn, I had another question for you, and I totally forgot it because I don't write things down ever. I never think about it. Okay. Cool. So you're competing next week.
Yep.
In Chicago, under 40 pounds, 135 pounds?
The division is 135.
Okay. And you're going to sign up?
I'm going to weigh in at like 120. So
you're still going to be the small one?
I'll still be the small one. Yep.
Okay. Use it to your advantage. They're all going to be big and fat and slow. Ugh, slobs.
I mean, I just know when I was younger, I'd see like an older woman and be like, oh man, she's got mom strength. Like it was intimidating. And now, like, I know that these young girls, right, because they're all going to be 10 years younger than me, are like, I'll know they might look at me and go like, oh man, she looks old. She could she could be tough. And I'm looking at them. They don't know from, you know, they don't have the retrospective point of view at this point. But now I look at them going, oh my God, they're young. They're gonna have a lot of energy. Like
they're never gonna get tired. They're gonna move so fast.
Yeah.
Can't we just do old people jiu-jitsu?
All the new age jiu-jitsu.
Oh. Yeah, just keep your feet close to you and you'll be safe because that's the only thing that modern people do.
I know, right? Yeah.
It's a problem. Like people I know that are learning, that are doing MMA and are going to jiu-jitsu schools now, when they go and they do jiu-jitsu, all they do is leg locks. And I'm like, that's okay in jiu-jitsu, but that can't be your A1 game in a real fight.
Yeah, for real.
You're supposed to add that on top of your jiu-jitsu, not learn that instead of your jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, unless it's going to be your one area of expertise. But I'm all about the foundations otherwise. So
Minari, Ryan Hall, that kind of stuff. Cool. Very cool. About it. All right. Well, Courtnie, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure.
All right. Thank you. Yep.
Learned so much.
Take care.
Have a great day.
You too.